so I have to come back a third time because apparently my document was not sufficient.
The Real ID deadline is tomorrow. If you still need to get yours, expect long waits at the Department of Licensing and the airport. What you need to know tonight.
Hot, sunny, dry, and breezy. We're talking an increased fire danger tomorrow.
Every day here is a special occasion dealing with our Canadian neighbors.
The border town of Bonners Ferry taking action tonight to keep the Canadian flag flying alongside the American flag after the Idaho Attorney General requested they take it down. The latest tonight. Good evening and thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 Night Report. I'm Mark Hanrahan. Tonight, the Bonners Ferry City Council passed a resolution to keep the Canadian flag flying in town despite a new state law and a request from the Idaho Attorney General to take it down. KREM 2's Connor McAvoy went to Bonners Ferry to ask why flying that flag is so important to the community.
I'm in Bonners Ferry, about 30 miles away from the Canadian border. Here, the Canadian flag is flown next to the Idaho flag and United States flag, and tonight's City Council approved a unique resolution making sure that can continue. Bonners Ferry, population just over 2,500, has a special relationship with Canada. Just ask 50-year-long neighbor Cal Russell about his time growing up here.
You'd go to Canada to play volleyball and baseball and softball. They're kind of part of our community.
That's why he wasn't happy when the Canadian flag, flown adjacent to the Idaho state flag and American flag, was taken down a couple of weeks ago.
Which has flown here as long as I can remember.
It was taken down due to the Idaho state legislature passing House Bill 96 into law. It excludes any flags that aren't the state of Idaho or the American flag from being flown on government property, except for special occasions.
Every day here is a special occasion dealing with our Canadian neighbors.
Rick Alonzo is the mayor of Bonners Ferry. He and other members of City Council unanimously passed a resolution saying 365 days a year marks a special occasion being neighbors with Canada, and to celebrate, they must fly their and their neighbor's flag side by side. Do you think on a leap year that might cause an issue for that one day? Or?
It might be. We might have to take it down one day a year every 4.
Alonzo says the decision was an easy one for him and other City Council members who respect their proximity to Canada. He says now it's a waiting game once the resolution passing makes its way to the state.
Now we'll see what happens with the Attorney General's office, whether they want to dispute our resolution or let it stand.
Meanwhile, folks like Russell can walk down the street and see the third of 3 flags he's proud to have waving home.
No, we don't want to flaunt our legal system, but it just doesn't seem right.
Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
And just hours ago, the Boise City Council voted to make the pride flag an official city flag. That's in response to that same state law detailing what flags local governments can fly. The law states official flags of a government entity are legal, but doesn't specify what falls under that category. The city of Boise started flying the pride flag more than a decade ago. New tonight, the Coeur d'Alene City Council passed a resolution approving a trolley pub at their meeting tonight. The rides are about 2 hours through downtown city streets with stops along the way. There will be a family-friendly tour that takes a scenic route with views of the lake and stopping at the carousel as well. Well, nearly 20 years after the Real ID Act was passed by Congress, the deadline is finally here. Starting tomorrow, you will need a Real ID or another enhanced type of identification in order to fly. If you don't already have one, be prepared to wait. Today, lines at the Spokane Valley DOL were more than 3 hours long for walk-ins.
That's pretty frustrating because we leave on the 19th for a trip. So probably Department of Motor Vehicles needs to get that information out more, what's acceptable, because some of the marriage certificates are more of a plaque type than an official document from the county that you were married in.
A heads up, if you do have a flight coming up, it can take a week to 10 days to get your physical copy of your Real ID in the mail. Well, the TSA is certainly getting ready for the switch to Real ID right now. A spokesperson telling us travelers should be prepared for long lines, including at the Spokane International Airport. She said above all else, just get to the airport early.
So please arrive early, plan ahead. If you have a Real ID compliant credential or another form, bring that. If you don't, come to the checkpoint and allow plenty of time to make it through security. Our goal is not to turn people away. Our goal is not to make this more difficult for people, but we are required to enforce Real ID starting on Wednesday, May 7th.
Coming up later in the broadcast, we will break down the new requirements and what you need to know before heading to the airport. And then join us for live special coverage tomorrow at 9 a.m. exclusively over on KREM 2+. We have team coverage at airports across the Pacific Northwest. Download on your TV and watch for free. Plus, our Brandon T. Jones will be live at the Spokane International Airport tracking the latest developments on Up with KREM starting tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Well, taking a live look at St. Peter's Square tonight, where the final preparations are underway for the conclave to begin tomorrow morning. The rules for this conclave were set back in the 13th century after an election that stretched almost 3 years. While there is still no time limit, recent votes have lasted just 2 days. The conclave is done behind closed doors, and today workers at the Vatican, cleaners, cooks, nurses, took an oath of secrecy. They would be excommunicated from the church if they break it. Tonight, many are wondering who are the favorites.
Cardinal Parolin is still clearly a front runner. He's well known to people. I think he will get a strong showing. So will Cardinal Tagle, magnificent evangelizer.
Tomorrow morning, 133 cardinals will be locked inside the Sistine Chapel to begin the conclave. The world will know a successor to Pope Francis has been selected by the signal of white smoke coming from
Cardinal
the chimney.
Peter Eldor.
Well, new tonight, the Department of Justice says it has launched a civil rights investigation into a newly signed Washington state law. That law adds members of the clergy to a list of professionals required to report child abuse or neglect when they have reason to believe it. Well, even if that information is obtained during confession. The DOJ alleges the law, which goes into effect on July 27th, may infringe on First Amendment rights to the free exercise of religion. The department specifically cites Catholicism, where priests are bound by the seal of confession. Violating that seal is grounds for excommunications. All right, switching gears, let's take our first look at the forecast with Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo. He's in our Outdoor Weather Center tonight. Jeremy, it was a beautiful day today. How's it feeling out there right now?
It's a beautiful evening, Mark. Temperatures have dropped a little bit. We are starting to dip across the inland Northwest, and we will continue to do so. But tomorrow morning winds up a little bit warmer than where we've been these past couple mornings. We're just going to start hanging on to a little more heat overnight the next couple of days, in part thanks to a changing weather pattern. Tonight, we're just hanging on to a warmer day. Tomorrow, we're going to hang on to that with a little bit of cloud cover and a potential for a couple of showers moving through in the middle of the night. So they move through Wednesday night, they're out by Thursday morning, and it's all about the sunshine from there. Thursday winds up nice and sunny, and then eventually we start to see a pattern shift. But seriously, the next few days look downright gorgeous. 78 on Wednesday, 68 on Thursday, 76 on Friday. All of those temperatures are well above the seasonal norm. Even our dip on Thursday, 68 is going to feel quite warm, especially with a morning low near 50 degrees. Mark?
It sounds good. Jeremy will check back in with you later in the broadcast. Don't go to bed just yet. A Spokane teenager accused of beating up 2 homeless men in court for the first time today. Plus, violent protests break out on UW's campus. That story and much more coming up in 90 seconds.